In Cleveland, when I was growing up as a kid, there was a lot of just cocaine and alcoholism.
Oh, no.
Like it was a huge epidemic at the time, and both my parents were subject to that. So I grew up in an environment where I kind of had to like piece parenting together on my own often, right?
You're Puerto Rican,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Was there a big Puerto Rican community, or were you kind of on
there's
your
a
own?
huge Puerto Rican community. So back in the day, everything used to be made in Ohio.
Right.
Okay.
Like if you turn something over, everything said Ohio.
Wow.
And so,
Not China.
yeah, exactly. So like in the 80s, and also a lot of things were made in Detroit, but a lot of stuff was made in Ohio. And so Puerto Ricans who lived in New York and didn't have access to college or good education, like there's a whole lineage of stuff that goes behind that. You could get a job with a high school degree at a factory in college and make like $17 an hour, which was great in the 80s.
Right.
And now it's about the same, like like it hasn't raised. Like that's still what people are getting paid, like, you know, within a margin of error. So a lot of people came from Puerto Rico to Ohio, from Puerto Rico to New York to Ohio to get good jobs.
How are you able to interpret these more serious roles? Because I know that you also do stand-up comedy as well, correct?
Yeah, and I was on Lopez, which was a comedy that George Lopez wrote, yeah.
Is it just because you have a lot of range as an actress, or is it something, you know, personal that, you know, you're able to dig into and use to be able to interpret characters like the one that you do on Goliath?
That's a great question. I, without sounding narcissistic.
No, not at all.
I think that there's range involved. I had a really tough childhood.
Okay.
And so I have the range of that. And then you have to learn to laugh at your life and find the joy in things. So I think that's also where the comedy comes from. I interpret both characters the same. Like I figure out what their wants and needs and desires and dreams and hopes are. I do that for both characters. And then if it's funny, you know, that girl's just different, right? Like the girl who's like picking on George on the show, she needs attention for whatever reason, and it shows up in these quirky, weird ways. Whereas Elena is like fighting for the life of children that grew up in rough neighborhoods similar to the one that I grew up in, and she doesn't have time to laugh because she's on a mission.
Yeah.
And that's what separates the characters from me.
You seem like such a positive person.
I'm so grateful to live through something like that, and then to be like here or on Goliath, and like doing things. Like when I succeed, it truly feels like any success that I have is a political statement.
Yeah.
You know?
And it
like,
is. And especially you're inspiring so many other people.
And a spiritual statement.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes me like, I mean, it makes me so grateful I shake a little, you know what I mean?